They've come from away.
From NBC News. The State of the Union Address. Live from Washington, here is Brian Williams.
And good evening from Capitol Hill. The Constitution calls on the President to give the Congress information on the State of the Union from time to time. Somehow, over time, it has become a live, primetime, televised national event, a platform for the President, followed by a chance for the opposition party to respond. And so, a joint session of Congress awaits the newly re-elected President, fresh from a largely successful election in Iraq. The audience before him in the chamber is deeply divided politically, but then again, so are the American people these days. In the audience tonight, the diplomatic corps, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, one of the 9 Supreme Court justices, and of course, the First Lady and special guests of the President. You see Mrs. Bush entering now. And for purposes of continuity of government in the event of a national disaster, this year, as with other years, one member of the cabinet will sit out this event. Shortly, the President will be introduced by the Sergeant at Arms. And with me for all of it this evening, NBC News Washington Bureau Chief, moderator of Meet the Press, Tim Russert. And here we go at it again. Today, Tim, I mentioned this on Nightly News this evening, part of the State of the Union Day tradition. You and I were guests of the President for lunch today and then spent some time with the Democrats, the opposition party on the Hill. I'll leave it to you to sum up how you found the President in mood and demeanor, and is he ready for the game?
Significantly different than Inauguration Day. Inauguration Day was viewed as the President's Day. As the Democratic leadership said to us today, Brian, this is the country's day, and we are own. The President was feisty. He's going to lay down the marker on Social Security, lay down the marker on Iraq, lay down the marker on social and cultural issues. And the Democrats are also going to say, hold on, Mr. President, we're not going along with you unless we see all your cards and all the specifics. We have really engaged in a big way, a big debate on Social Security and I think Iraq.
We're, as we talk, we'll watch some of the pictures from the House chamber. We just saw the Supreme Court announced, and you saw only one justice, Stephen Breyer, a former Senate staffer. He alone attended last time, and he alone is attending this year, as you see the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, followed by outgoing Attorney General John Ashcroft. And looking at the Attorney General, Tim, we have a divisive fight for his successor, the White House counsel, Judge Gonzales. You mentioned the Democrats on the other side of the
President's political capital he talked so much about after the election. Can he provide enough political cover to Republicans who are not just worried about his reelection but their own to take on Social Security? And can he overcome the objections of Democrats? Harry Reid, the minority leader, has said very clearly with the idea of private accounts that they will not happen. The Democrats are united in opposition, Brian.
And we're awaiting the announcement of Bill Livingood, who will come in and announce that the President has arrived. They'll hold the President just behind those double doors.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Arrive in those seats, Brian, 3 and 4 hours early just for this magical moment. Will my constituents see me back at home shaking hands with the President of the United States? I am powerful.
As much jostling as a hockey game to get down there on the aisle. Congressman Eliot Engel, a Democrat from New York, is famous for his seat on the aisle. He always manages to get down and shake the hand of whatever president is in power, regardless of party. You see Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leader in the House, just off the president's shoulder. Dr. Bill Frist, the majority leader in the Senate, of course, off the president's other shoulder. And I hope one of our many cameras can record the predicted, there it is, the Eliot Engel moment, the Democrat from the Bronx. with a good sense of timing and positioning.
There's Tom DeLay, the Republican leader, behind Nancy Pelosi. Big changes on the House Ethics Committee today. Several people close to Tom DeLay have been appointed, which will create another furor with the Democrats.
Justice Breyer, and of course General Myers, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, familiar to so many Americans after so many Pentagon briefings. The chiefs of all the branches of the service traditionally sit in the front row. Chip Reid, who covers Congress for us, is in Statuary Hall. Chip, we'll hear a lot of applause breaks tonight, but then the hard work begins with the first light of day tomorrow morning. And what kind of Congress will this be?
Well, I tell you, Brian, it's going to be a very divided Congress, as you have been discussing. The Democrats are going to rip into the president's Social Security proposal. We've already seen the text of Harry Reid's response tonight. Harry Reid, the Democratic leader of the Senate, he's going to call the president's Social Security proposal Social Security roulette. And he says, hey, I'm from Las Vegas. I know roulette when I see it. And tomorrow, the Democrats are going to hold a press conference at the FDR Memorial here in town to emphasize the fact that for 70 years since FDR, Social Security has been stable. They don't want it touched. Brian?
Chip Reid, thanks. Democrats have always contended for decades that because it's in the DNA of their party, because it was the brainchild of FDR, the Republicans have been after. So
My privilege and the distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Cheney, members of Congress, fellow citizens. As a new Congress gathers, all of us in the elected branches of government share a great privilege. We've been placed in office by the votes of the people we serve. And tonight, that is a privilege we share with newly elected leaders of Afghanistan, the Palestinian territories, Ukraine, and a free and sovereign Iraq. Ago, I stood on the steps of this Capitol and renewed the commitment of our nation to the guiding ideal of liberty for all. This evening, I will set forth policies to advance that ideal at home and around the world. Tonight, with a healthy, growing economy, with more Americans going back to work, with our nation an active force for good in the world, the state of our union is confident and strong. Our generation has been blessed by the expansion of opportunity, by advances in medicine, by the security purchased by our parents' sacrifice. Now, as we see a little gray in the mirror, or a lot of gray, and we watch our children moving into adulthood, we ask the question, what will be the state of their union? Members of Congress, the choices we make together will answer which millions of our fellow citizens rely. America's economy is the fastest growing of any major industrialized nation. In the past 4 years, we provided tax relief to every person who pays income taxes, overcome a recession, opened up new markets abroad, prosecuted corporate criminals, raised home ownership to its highest level in history, and in the last year alone, the United States has added 2.3 million new jobs. When action was needed, the Congress delivered, and the nation is grateful. Now we must add to these achievements by making our economy more flexible, more innovative, and more competitive. We will be the economic leader of the world and stays on track to cut the deficit in half by 2009. It substantially reduces or eliminates more than 150 government programs that are not getting results. The principle here is clear. Taxpayer dollars must be spent wisely or not at all. To make our economy stronger and more dynamic, test scores are on the rise, and we're closing the achievement gap for success. We will help an additional 200,000 workers to get training for a better career by reforming our job training system and strengthening America's community colleges and Pell Grants. To make our economy stronger and more competitive, America must reward, not punish, the efforts and dreams of entrepreneurs. So we must free small businesses from needless regulation and protect honest job creators from junk lawsuits. It's held back by irresponsible to pass legal reforms this year. I ask a small matter to the United States Congress. We'll make sure there are good options to protect your investments from sudden market swings on the eve of your retirement. We'll make sure a personal account cannot be emptied out all at once, but rather paid out over time as an addition to traditional Social Security benefits. We have given them training and equipment, and they have given us an
54-minute political tour of the nation and the world, interrupted by applause 66 times. The first ever State of the Union to feature purple-tipped index fingers on the, as you saw, the index fingers of some freshman members of the House of Representatives who did this as a statement, tried to get, some Republicans tried to get Democrats to go along, and of course on the Iraqi woman seated next to the First Lady, a survivor of the regime of Saddam Hussein in Iraq. An emotional moment, the parents of a Marine. Tim Russert, what will stand out? Will it be Social Security, where the president tonight didn't just touch on the third rail of American politics, he reached out and grabbed hold of it?
And he did so by putting on the table ideas that has been suggested for years. He used
Tonight, with a healthy, growing economy,